Here we go. Good evening. It's 6:04 on the 19th of September. We're here for the Transportation Committee meeting, and my name's Deborah Howe. I'm the chair of this committee, and we're going to do a quick roll call of committee members. Trish, Jeff, Bartel.
Present.
Here.
Lynette.
Here.
And we're missing Tom Cross, Jeff Krebs, and possibly Jim Hale. If he gets off his meeting, I think he'll pop in. All right. I don't have any announcements. Does anybody else have any announcements? Okay, let's move on. Public comments for items not on the agenda. Zachary, you're on the agenda. So, Seamus, did you have any comment that you wanted to make for the record?
No, thank you.
Okay, just wanted to give you that opportunity. Susan?
I do. Is this where I do it?
Yes.
Oh.
If it's not listed on the agenda, this is an opportunity for you to make your public comment.
Okay, but I would be on the same comment with Zach. Item A.
All right, well then save your comment for then.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with safety on Monarch Lane. That would be our first item on the agenda. And Zachary, why don't you or Susan, however you want to do that, talk to us about what's going on there.
I could go ahead and take that. And sorry, for some reason, again, this is the first time I've done Zoom on my camera. I'm having issues accessing the camera. So otherwise I would turn it on so you could see my my smiling face, but thanks for having me. I reached out to Deborah via email a few weeks ago just to raise a concern about the speeding on Monarch Lane. I've lived on Monarch Lane in Glen for about 7 years. So I'm very sensitive to the issue at hand. I also have 3 young children and who go to school every day by walking and riding their bikes. And I've noticed this issue had persisted, or this issue, I noticed it right when we moved into the home. And I approached the county because of it. Pre-pandemic, I want to say in like 2019, to see if there was anything to do to mitigate speeding. And that didn't pan out. I had addressed LOCAC and recorded my sort of issue in public comments. And the best the county did at one time was bringing out one of those electronic meters to register how fast people are going. And that was the last I heard from the county. And I've just noticed that the problem has gotten worse, particularly because of the pandemic. Many people come to access Montaña de Oro, and it's in my view, it's untenable. It's just a real hazard, and it's not only people who are coming to access Montaña de Oro, but there are delivery trucks, there are tradesmen, it's a pretty well-traveled lane, and it's a major feeder road, I think, is the designation that Deborah had said. But it's a very wide lane. I'm sure most of us are familiar with it, and the speed limit's 30 miles an hour. From my understanding, the speed limit used to be 25, and I don't know what necessitated the increase of that. All that said, I'm just a concerned neighbor. I'm a homeowner, and I know that other people in the neighborhood are also concerned. And because there's really no enforcement on Monarch Lane for speeding, it's a huge concern. It's a huge hazard. There are people walking here. There are children. There are people walking their dogs, and I'm taking steps to see what mitigation measures can't be had to curb the speeding, as it were. I noticed Deborah shared the map designation of other major feeder roads in Los Osos. And there are 2, Santa Isabel and Pine, which have the same designation as Monarch. And those have mitigation measures speed humps. So I know there's precedent for establishing said speed humps on a major feeder road. And I just, that's my ultimate goal. So I'm looking to hopefully that will be the ultimate end. So this is one of my very first steps after approaching the county in 2019 with Deborah. And Susan, of course, is also a neighbor and I think shares my similar sentiments. And that's what I have. So that's my record for the public, and see what can't be done to ensure the safety of everybody in the neighborhood.
Okay, great. Susan, did you want to make your comment now? And then we'll have a good discussion about it.
Yes, and I totally reiterate what Zach has said. I've lived on the corner of Monarch Lane and El Dorado for 20 years, and the speeds and the volume of motorized traffic has increased. And you know, it's interesting, Monarch Lane is only 6 blocks long and it dead ends at the western end, but it's a main connector for cars, bicycles, scooters, golf carts now, and horses. So speeds above 25 are too fast. And yes, the posted speeds are 30, which is too fast. So I think along with Zach, we look to the Transportation and Circulation Committee for guidance on how we can increase awareness so drivers slow down in the neighborhood and, you know, Los Osos in general, how we can work with the county to perhaps lower the posted speed to 30. And the fact that it was 25 is very interesting that it was increased. And then I would like to see how we can implement a feasibility study for installation of maybe the speed bumps or humps or some other, what do they call it? Traffic calming measures. I guess that's the word. So I'm just thankful that we have, you know, this group that we can go to. You know, it's interesting. I've noticed in the last 3 or 4 years, the signs have disappeared, the speed signs, and I've reached out. The county has that little website where you can say, oh, this sign is missing. And they've been very responsive. Within 2 days, they've come out and put 2 signs back in that have, you know, disappeared. But they just, you know, they're just doing whatever they need to do. And they said, oh, no, this is a major connector or collector, and the posted speeds are 30 miles. So, yes, I hope that we can get some traction and make our neighborhood a little bit safer. So thank you.
So yes, thank you. And thank you for joining us. Zach and I did have this conversation about the fact that this road is classified as a collector street. And that means that the other roads feed into it, right? And when it comes to speed bumps, like you see on Pine Street, those are completely out of favor now. The county rejects any idea of putting in speed bumps like that because we're told that they're difficult for the fire trucks to navigate, and that they've actually caused some injuries when they're driving at speed and then they hit that bump and then, you know, people go flying. So I think Zachary made a point to me that there are ways that they can make allowances for where a truck would go through, a fire truck would go through, so that they would have a place where they would go through that's the right size for a fire truck. I'm not familiar with that, but I love that idea. And I think that the speed humps that we find on San Ynez it's a different story, right? They're wider, they're more gradual. I think that would be an acceptable thing. I'm just speaking for myself personally. I see that to be an acceptable alternative. And we talked about having one as a crosswalk. So if you imagine, just like on Santa Isabel, the hump is where the crosswalk is, right? So it elevates the people walking. It also slows down traffic. So I think that is a concept a traffic calming concept that should be considered. With any of these things, it always comes back to funding. And because we're an unincorporated area, we have no ability to fund any infrastructure changes. We have to go to the county and hope that the county will come up with the funding to do these things. But the more we talk about them, the more attention we can get. So this is the first step to kind of bringing this up, raising it up to the next level, in my opinion. Other committee members, do you have any comments or things that you want to add to the conversation?
I would just agree with you. Those are very gentle little, they're not even really humps. They're just kind of, the crosswalk really helps to delineate, and also the road narrowing, that really had something to do with it too. People can't speed when it's just this little narrow pathway.
One of the things that we can do is that we can bring all of these concerns and we can write a letter from LOCAC to the Board of Supervisors, you know, and CC the Public Works Department, get them involved also. We're working with the Public Works Department on different issues right now. So if we can do a combination of that too, I think it would at least bring the awareness up a little bit higher. The other thing that every neighborhood that I walk through, and I walk on these streets every single day with my dog. So the other thing is, you know, just put out those signs that I see everywhere, you know, children, slow down, all of those. They do help. I mean, every time I see them, even if I'm not speeding, I'm like, you know, slow down. So it's just another way to keep people aware, and truck drivers that aren't familiar with the area that drive down that, it would keep them and the tradespeople aware.
Lynette, you mentioned the narrowing of the road, and that is one of the other traffic calming measures that is used. And so if you think about San Isabel, where they have added medians, and so that makes each direction of traffic a little bit more narrow, and it gives the feeling to the driver that there's less space, and so they slow down instead of having it be, as Zach and I talked about, Monarch Lane, it's a wide street, right? You just feel like you're on a freeway down there. And so people going to see the butterflies or going, you know, into Montana Doro or to hike or whatever, you know, it's very inviting. Why they changed it to 30 is a good question, and I think it's a question that we need to ask. Why was that changed? There was in the past, if people had a concern about, okay, I know this is going to sound crazy, but just stay with me. If you had a concern about people speeding on your road, they would come out and do a traffic study, and if 85% of the people were going faster than the posted sign, they would raise the speed limit.
Right.
Even though you might be complaining about people going too fast, they would actually go with, oh, well, people are driving. That's changed now. They're not doing that. And in fact, where you see on Pecho Road and Los Osos Valley Road 40 miles an hour, they're going to drop that down to 35. But here's the thing. People don't really drive the speed limit, right? You know, it could say 25, it could say 30, and they're still going to drive what? But if you put a speed hump there, they're going to have to slow down a little bit. So I'm with you. I think that would be the best approach. Any other comments?
Just one more. Thank you for the brainstorming here, and I think it's really a wise idea to send a letter to the powers that are to continue raising the issue. But Deborah and I asked her during our initial conversation. It's always about funding, and if there is room for like private capital to as a way to match any sort of government funds to help sort of push any projects projects along. So I don't know if you were able to follow up on that, Deborah, or the feasibility of raising private capital to help implement the traffic calming measures.
No, but I will. What will happen now is after we have
Oh.
this committee meeting, when we do our general meeting of LOCAC on the 27th, I will report to the entire committee. And at that time, or the entire council, at that time, somebody from the county will be there. It's usually Bruce Gibson, or if it's not him, it's his legislative aide. So there will be somebody from the county there, and we can ask that question on the spot. But I think it's an interesting question. You know, can we have a fundraiser and raise a little money to, you know, create a safe crossing there? So we'll get an answer. We may not get an answer that night, but we'll find out something. Oops, do we lose Zach? I think we lost him. Maybe he'll be back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to B.
Did something just happen? I mean, everybody was frozen, I think. Oh, good.
Hello?
Ah,
Did I
Hi.
disappear?
Oh,
You got frozen.
Oh, I got
Yeah.
frozen. I actually got kicked off and I had to come back in.
oh,
Okay.
Next time, maybe
So I'm
you
back.
called intermission.
All right, sorry. So, but you heard about the funding, right?
No,
No,
no.
Okay, where did I leave off?
that you were just starting the next agenda item and then you
Oh my
froze.
gosh. Okay, all right. The next agenda item is the Road to Zero Safety Forum, October 4th. And why this is important. Right now, San Luis Obispo County does not have a zero policy for zero fatalities and zero serious injuries. If we had a plan, it would open the door for more funding from state and federal government, especially in the area of active transportation, which is cycling and pedestrians. So SLOCOG is starting to try to come together and create a plan for the county. It's going to take some time. They're going to have to get money to fund it. It's going to require a study, but this will be the kickoff. October 4th will be the kickoff. And I will be speaking at the forum about our Safe Trek safety report, which we're going to talk about next. But it's very exciting that the county is doing this. We're way late to the game here, guys. And it's, you know, it's critical that we get this plan in place so that we can access the funding that's available on the state and federal level. So basically, I'm just going to read the quote. Caltrans director's policy commits the department to safe system approach reaffirms the vision of reaching 0 fatalities and serious injuries on state highways by 2050. And that's a statewide proclamation. So they're setting the tone. They're saying, okay, California, we want 0 fatalities. And so every county that comes on board with that concept and creates a plan is going to be tapping into funding that on the state level. Okay. Track safety report. Guys, we have been waiting and waiting and waiting for this report to come from UC Berkeley. For those of you who are not familiar with it, we applied for a grant at UC Berkeley for their safety assessment, Safe Street Safety Assessment. They hired a third-party consultant, Fair and Peers, to come down and do a walkthrough of Los Osos. And they're supposed to send us a report on what their recommendations are. We still haven't gotten it. But I've been told that we will have it the week of the 25th, which is next week. So I'm super excited about that. Number one, because I'm supposed to talk about it at this forum on October 4th. And number two, because we're going to see what the recommendations are. Just to remind you, we focused on Monarch Grove Elementary School, so the area around that elementary school, the area around Baywood Elementary School, the middle school, and also downtown Baywood Park. So those are the areas that we concentrated on and looked for safety improvements in those areas, both vehicular, pedestrian, and cycling. So one of the things that came out of, I just last week did a webinar with the UC Berkeley people, and they had a presentation by a couple of people who have had these safety assessments done. One was from a Cal Poly University at Pomona. They did one for their university, and the other was for the unincorporated area of San Joaquin, which is up near Stockton. And both of them presented, you know, what the results of their safety assessment and how they got funding to do the improvements. In the case of San Joaquin, they also had Fair and Peers, this third-party consultant who did their report. They turned around and hired them to help them get funding. They got $3.3 million to do an improvement in their community. Okay, that kind of blew my mind. So that's super exciting. However, okay, here comes Jim. One of the things that they said, and I especially want to say this to Jeff Bartell, is that because I started asking them a little bit more about, you know, their plan and how they had gotten their, you know, put together their plan. And they said, we used our bicycle plan as our template. So they went and they used it their, you know, overall, you know, we have one, but it's completely out of date. 2016 was the last time it was revised, but that's what they used as the basic. I'm sorry?
It just got
It
approved.
just got approved by the Board of Supervisors, the 2016 one.
Yeah, well, it's out of date, so it needs to be revised.
It does, but it does have some great stuff in it.
Well, that's what they used. San Joaquin used their bicycle plan to sort of as the starting point for their improvements. So I thought, okay, that's good information for us because we're also an unincorporated area. We also, you know, are using this third-party consultant, Fair and Peers. And I don't know if it was the county that ponied up the money to hire them to go and do the grant writing, but, you know, however they did it, it really worked out for them. So that was exciting. Any comments about that before I move on? Any questions? All right. So I'm gonna share screen. This is super cool. I'm totally excited about, except for I don't see it up there. So let me go find it. Here it is. There we go. All right. LOCAC. They wrote a grant. Actually, John D'Annunzio wrote a grant to the state for a climate adaptation mobility plan for South Bay Boulevard. I don't think I need to remind you what happened when we had all those terrible storms, what happened to South Bay Boulevard, and how we were cut off. Los Osos was cut off from Morro Bay and Highway 1, and Morro Bay was cut off from Los Osos. So what they're looking for is a study. Everything starts with a study of how to create a resilient South Bay Boulevard. And here's the timeline. Fall of 2023, identifying existing conditions, spring and summer of 2024, develop adaptation concepts and scenarios, evaluation of adaptation alternatives and cost benefits, and in spring, summer of 2025, adoption of final adaptation strategy. So this is so important for our community. Notice the picture of the bicycles, because what will have to happen logically, the road is going to have to be moved up to higher ground. And when that happens, we should be able to create a safe bicycle trail that will go all the way to Morro Bay. For any of those of you who bike, you know how cool that would be.
We have high schoolers from Los Osos that ride their bikes to Morro Bay High
That is
School.
correct. We have high
And to go
school
over there to
ride their
see
bike.
friends, so we need something to keep them safer.
That's right. Now there's a bridge here. Let's see, where is it? The bridge, that bridge is being replaced there on that little, what is that, Los Osos Creek?
Yeah.
Okay, so that bridge is already funded and it's already designed to be replaced. And I think they're supposed to start in 2025. And that expanded bridge, if you will, is going to have bike lanes on both sides and a pedestrian walkway on the estuary side. The problem is that the bridge is going to be 100 feet longer and raised up because of, the water and everything. The problem is right now it doesn't really go anywhere except for back to the little narrow road that exists there right now. But this is the first step to actually creating a new South Bay Boulevard that would match that bridge in size and, bike lanes and so forth and so on. It will connect, and I don't think they show this very well here. It actually will have roads that go and connect with some trails, both on the Morro Bay State Park side and then also on the Elfin Forest side. So this is I think this is very exciting. These things take a lot of time, but you have to start, with these plans. And the fact that we were able to get the funding for this was some heavy lifting by it wasn't just LOCAC. John D'Annunzio was the lead, but he contacted every single person, all the Morro Bay people, myself, here the Los Osos people, brought in the county people, brought in the coastal people, the coastal commission people to make this happen. So something really exciting to look forward to. Any questions? Any questions about this? Okay, so last thing on the agenda will be our just reiterating the Los Osos Valley Road corridor study. If you haven't gone to the this safety plan, My Social Pinpoint link on your agenda, go there, make your comments. These comments will be incorporated into the plan for Los Osos Valley Road. I've already talked to Jake Hudson, who's the lead, the county lead on this, and he told me that they've had more response to our corridor study than any other corridor study they've done in the county. And that's because it's so important to us, clearly. So it allows us to put more pressure on the county when it comes to actually funding these improvements. So make sure everybody that you know knows about it, knows how to get there, knows how to put their comments in, or like other people's comments. Okay, that's all I've got, guys. Do I have any comments or any questions?
I'll
No,
just
just-
say that I
ahead,
would, I would just reiterate what you said earlier. I was on the website looking at the interactive map of the Los Osos corridor study, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds of comments, and they're great comments. I mean, people are really getting behind this. So it's exciting for me to read it and to have some of the things that Trish and I are concerned about in that area. You know, there's many other people that feel the same way. So it's just it just kind of sort of backstops some of the areas that we're very concerned about too. So it was really a pleasant surprise to go and look at it.
Anybody else? Any other comments?
I would agree. I last time I looked at it, there were all kinds of comments and a lot of them very grounded. So it's good. Very exciting.
And for me, Susan, this is my first time I've joined your meeting, but I appreciate the feedback on our little Monarch Lane issue, and hopefully we'll get some movement, and I can work with you directly, or you can point me in people in the county if I need to talk to somebody. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susan. If you want to jot your, do I have your email?
I don't know, but I know Zach forwarded some of your correspondence with him, and I can just follow up directly through that
That'd be great.
and send it to you.
That'd be great.
Thank
Great.
you.
And Seamus, welcome. I'm so glad that you were able to pop in tonight. We were supposed to meet up last night and I spaced it, and so I apologize for that, but I'm really glad to see you're here, and the more participation we have from our community, the stronger our committee will be.
Sure, yeah. I think the sort of active transportation piece in Los Osos, you know, I grew up here like from 1982. And so seeing both the work that's already been done and the stuff that still has to get done is, you know, it makes me want to be involved.
Great. Thank you. Well, we look forward to seeing you more then. We welcome you on the committee if you'd like to serve. We meet the same time every month.
Yeah, I think that would be, I think that'd be great.
All right.
Yeah, we managed to get done with soccer practice in time to get back here. So seems like it can work. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, I'll send you some more information about that then.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you
Nice
for
to see
showing
you
up,
guys.
and enjoy this beautiful weather. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.